drivers out there who can control their own destiny.
A lot of pressure on them. There's no doubt about that.
And who wins the title?
Man, it's hard racing.
Bullseye move. He's in the wall.
It's going to be a shootout right to the very end.
Oh, he loses the wheel.
Kurt Busch is the 2004 NASCAR Cup Series champion.
Been a remarkable year for Stewart.
He pulls it off. Tony Stewart wins his second championship. Jimmy Johnson will win the title.
Nothing like back-to-back championship.
A three-time consecutive champion. 4 in a row.
You guys are awesome. Thank you, boys.
That gap from first to second has never been this close. It really is about head-to-head today between Hamlin and Johnson. Oh, trouble, and it involves Hamlin. For the 5th year in a row, the champion, Jimmy Johnson.
You have to lose these things before you can win them, and this is an experience to try to win it next year.
I think it's the best driving I've ever seen. This is the man right here, Tony Stewart.
So we got it?
We got it. We are got the tiebreaker, baby.
The top two in the championship, flanking off each other. Nobody giving ground. At a NASCAR Cup Championship for Brad Keselowski.
What an awesome season.
Champion for the 6th time, it's Jimmy Johnson.
He drove his heart out this year.
Cut in front of me and I didn't let it. It's just hard to believe the whole thing's over.
This season was fantastic.
Hell yeah, guys. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Adam Alexander. I watched that video. I think about the fact that the Daytona 500 is just over a month away. And when you think about today's announcement and all the energy and excitement that's going to bring, this is no doubt a historic day for NASCAR. Before I introduce our panel in today's announcement, I want to say a special welcome to all those watching on YouTube, the NASCAR channel, and listening on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Let's get to the announcement, and Steve O'Donnell, take it away and tell us all about the championship format in 2026.
Well, thank you, Adam, and appreciate everybody being here as well. I do want to take a minute. This is the first time we've been in front of the media and been able to talk to some folks, and want to let everyone know we're still thinking about Greg Biffle and his family and all those involved in that tragic plane crash, and also Denny Hamlin, the loss of his dad. We're all praying for his mom with a speedy recovery. Denny was a big part of today's announcement, put a lot of work into it. He's been a big part of the formats, and we're thinking about him and really appreciate him as well. So you got a great group here, some of which who are involved in coming up with this format. And just kind of a quick history of how we got to where we were. Tim Clark headed up a group that included a number of folks from the industry. That was drivers, owners, OEMs, television partners, and a lot of sponsors to talk about what we could do going forward with our championship format. And there were a couple things that were vitally important, I think, to everyone in the group. One was that winning still had to matter. We had to make sure that that was a big component of what we were doing. We certainly wanted consistency to matter. Not lost on us that throughout what we've seen with the current format, there were times when a driver could win and maybe take a couple races because he had that win in the bank. That's not something we wanted. We wanted every race to matter, so both of those needed to be front and center. And then we also wanted our fans to know that we're listening, and our industry to know that we're listening. So with that, where we've landed is candidly that the chase is back. We are going back to a format where on the Cup side, the first 26 races will be based on points system, and the final 10 races will make up the chase. So if you go into the chase format, first and foremost, you want to look at how the points will be set. So the points leader will go into the chase at 2,100 points. It was important for us to have a bonus for that leader, so they'll have a 25-point lead over second place and a 35-point lead over third place, and then the positions beyond that will go down by 5 points. What also was really important for the group that got together was winning. I talked about that, and we're going to take winning from 40 points up to 55 points. Believe that'll be a great incentive for the drivers each and every race to have to go out there and perform, but also go for wins. And while I have a minute to, I want to take a moment to thank Mark for coming from his vacation. I know it's a long trip from out west. Mark Martin was the first guy in the room to stand up and say, I want to go back to full season points. There were a lot of folks who wanted to throw Mark out of the room initially. But what Mark did was got us to a position where what's the right balance? And the balance between those who like to play off and those who like that full season points. And we believe we've struck that balance. We've got the best of both worlds where every race matters. We've talked to a lot of folks in the industry. We've run a lot of different models and believe this is the best place to land, really to get back to who we are. That's the core of NASCAR and want to launch this, and we're really excited about the 2026 season.
Steve O'Donnell giving us the details of what's going to happen with our championship format in 2026. He referenced the Hall of Famer Mark Martin. We're glad that Mark is here and a part of our panel. The rest of our panel, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Hall of Famer, owner Junior Motorsports. On the back row, active drivers. Chase Briscoe is here from Gibbs Racing, driving that 19 Toyota. Ryan Blaney is here from Team Penske, driver of the number 12. And Chase Elliott, driver of the number 9 from Hendrick Motorsports. It seems appropriate to have two guys on the panel named Chase, I believe. I want to go around and get the reaction of all of you on today's announcement and the format that will unfold in 2026. Dale, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to say, but I was really excited to hear the news that we're kind of getting a little bit closer to a full 36 race format. This is as close, in my opinion, that you can get without going all the way. But what I believe it does is it makes it simpler for our fans to follow. I'm a fan of the sport, and now I'm compelled to plug in every single week because I know there's a long-form objective for my driver to accomplish to be able to give himself the opportunity to win the championship. And so even though my driver may have success early on this season, it does not assure him success in the postseason. So with the way that they're going to stack the bonus points and everything else, it's critical that these drivers have success every single week. And every single race, every single lap will have more importance. I think that's fun for the drivers to have a more clear objective to how to get to the championship and easier for our fans to follow.
Mark, your thoughts?
Well, the fans were yelling at me, we want full season points. So I yelled even louder and almost got thrown out, as Steve said. I think that this is the most perfect compromise that you could ever ask for. It's going to require our 2026 champion to be lightning fast and incredibly consistent. And that's what we can all get behind. So I'm really excited. I think it's fantastic. And I just appeal to the race fans, all the race fans, but especially the classic fans who say to me, I don't watch anymore. I say, we need you. Come on back. You know, we're headed in the right direction. And, you know, come back and join with us, and we'll keep making progress. And one more thing, for the broadcasters, for the media, the journalists, and everyone, this is a time for a change in how we cover the sport. And that means instead of every week talking about the cutoff line, the playoff, who's in, who's out, all these things, we need to focus even more on our heroes. These guys behind me that are winning these races are our Pearsons and our Yarboroughs and our Buddy Bakers of today. And we need our fans to connect with these guys. We need them to connect with the crew chiefs. We need to connect with the engineers as well. Give the fans something that they can connect to and help us build these superstars like they deserve to be.
Chase Elliott, lead us off from the back row.
Yeah, well, it gets harder as you go along here to add to this. But, I think, look, this is a couple things come to my mind first and foremost. To Steve's point, willing to listen, right? Not only to Mark and Dale and even guys like myself and Ryan, who I think have kind of screamed at some of these things over the course of time of just wanting it to be better. And I think we all want it to be better because, to Dale's point, we are fans of this sport. I grew up a fan. I watched that video. A lot of those years of Jimmy dominating and, the championship with Tony and Carl all during the chase were incredible runs, right? I think we oftentimes forget just how good we had it through those years of the chase format. And I do think it is a really nice compromise. I think, getting a full season was going to be a pretty big challenge. And I'm not sure that there's really a better place to land than a true 10-race chase, really similar to what we had through those years of the epic battles that we saw. So I personally appreciate Steve and the folks at NASCAR for being able to come together with our TV partners and making everyone happy. That's a really hard thing to do, and I think sometimes we all forget about that and just how many pieces make this puzzle. So really proud to be here. I can say that with complete honesty. This is something I'm proud of as a competitor, something I'm looking forward to competing in and against these guys with. And I think just from my perspective, challenge the race fans this year. Let's enjoy what we got. We're so quick to complain about everything, everything that we have and everything that we do. Let's enjoy what we have, because we're making history, whether you like it or not. Celebrate the champion. Celebrate the guys who went out there and did a good job. I think this format promotes that. So let's enjoy what we have. We got a pretty cool thing, at the end of the day. So let's not forget about it and enjoy what we got today.
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo with what all these guys said in front of me and before me, I am very excited for it. I grew up, right, I think probably all three of us sitting up here are at the age where we all grew up. The chase was in place, and this is what we watched as kids, and I loved seeing it, and I love seeing close battles, and, I feel like it also is going to, I sit back and I look at this new format, and, there's sometimes we all get grief about, over aggressiveness and things like that. And sometimes you get put in these situations when it's a win and move on type scenario. And I think it's going to clean up a lot of the racing side of it and kind of get back to the purity side of it, to where it is a little bit more of not brash and a little bit more of the beautiful art form that I grew up loving. And so I am a huge fan of it. Like Chase said, and all these guys said, I appreciate NASCAR for listening. I appreciate all these guys, Mark and Dale, for being big voices for us, and it's just fun to be a part of it. So I look forward to next year, and consistency is going to be a massive part of it. So you're going to have it's not going to be – I don't think you're still going to get guys that get out and be like, good points day. It's still going to be winning is a huge product of it, because the increase in the winner's points. So, yeah, it's excited. I hope everyone's as excited as we all are to be a part of it and for them to watch it on TV through their years.
If the art form of this chase format models your mustache, we're in for a real treat. I'll say that. Chase Briscoe, your thoughts?
Well, I like the name. Yeah, it's a great name. Yeah, I'm excited. Just like these guys said, I don't really know what else I can add, but I think it has every characteristic that you want in a championship format, where winning matters, consistency matters. DNFs are going to matter. Just the point swing now with the winning. You're not going to have that winning in, but with the 15 extra bonus points, winning can take a guy from fourth in the championship all the way to out of the lead, or vice versa. So I just think it adds so many new elements, and it's just honestly a great format. Like Ryan was saying, I grew up with the chase format and loved it. And I think this makes it just even better. So yeah, just looking forward to finally being a competitor in it, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what we have.
Let's open it up for questions in the room. We've got a couple of microphones. Raise your hand. We'll start back here, and we'll just kind of ping-pong around. State your name and affiliation, and we'll get you a microphone.
Right side.
SkysprinkleMotorsports.com. This question is for Steve. What was the process like from the very start of the conversations with all the people, the committee, and everybody to, start the ideas of what we should do to kind of change the format to, first week, second week, like through that, what was the processes like for getting everyone to have a good compromise, and how much influence did, say, drivers, team owners, and fans, outside of this main committee, how much did y'all look at things like that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Over a year, probably a year and a half process. If I'm totally honest with everyone, which that's my nature, going into even Phoenix this year, I was kind of a hold your breath moment. We recognize more and more that Someone winning a championship, absolutely they won it by the rules, but was it the best format that we could go with? And the tide had turned in the garage area, and that's important to us and certainly important to our race fans. So we did a lot of listening. We did a lot of talking and looked at a ton of ideas, modeled a lot of different things. But I applaud the industry, and that includes the media as well. And so you'll hear me often say, when I say NASCAR, I'm not just talking about the folks who are making the rules at the R&D Center. NASCAR is everyone here. It's everyone here. It's the team owners, the OEMs, and all of those people had a voice in this. So we tried to strike a balance. Not everyone's going to love it. We don't expect everyone to just go out and love it. We don't expect this to be the magic wand we wave from a NASCAR standpoint and say everything's now great. We've got a lot of work to do from our standpoint, relationships in the garage, getting back to those, but getting back to who we are. And that's hardcore racing. And Chase said, people having fun. We work in a pretty damn good industry, and we need to have some fun, celebrate the wins. But it was a great process. We looked at everything. We beat up a ton of models, and I'm proud of where we landed as a group.
Next one in the back, and then we'll come to the front row if we can get a microphone there.
Thanks very much. Mike Solarte, Spectrum News 1, also for Steve, and I guess anybody on the panel. I mean, you guys have talked about the compromise to get to this point. What is the desired end game overall? You said not everybody's going to agree with it, not everybody's going to love it, but what are you trying to most maximize out of this playoff format or going back to the chase?
I think from my perspective, and I'd be interested to hear in the other guys, is just re-engage with our core fans. The folks who got us there are a loud voice. And I think when the industry is talking about they want a different format, we want that as well. We want the drivers to feel like, they're the best drivers in the world, and we want them to feel great when they win a championship, that they ran through a gauntlet of the toughest racetracks, 36 weekends, and pulled it off. And so that was really important to us. At the end of the day, it's growing the fan base, but it's not just chasing new fans. We need to be with the folks who brought us to the dance, make sure that they believe in us where we're going. New fans will come along because they're going to see that this is a cool sport to be around.
Let's go to the front.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. For any of our active drivers, with wins counting for more points now, how does that help counter what we used to hear of just having a good points day, still incentivizing winning while also still rewarding consistency now?
You want me to go? Oh. I think from my perspective, winning mattered in the previous format that we had as well. But you could also have good points days, too. And I don't think that it's totally gone. I don't think either side of the fence is gone. And to me, I think that's kind of the whole point of this, right? Is, you can go out there and have a great stretch of top fives or top tens and get stage points and do all those things. And you can still have good points days. I don't think that's erased. But certainly, the amount of points that you're going to get for winning is eventually going to add up. So, look, I've always kind of been a believer that I think a lot of the formats and things that, a lot of times it's going to come out in the wash. And to me, that was where, as long as we had an opportunity for a format to make it come out in the wash, I think we were doing the right thing. And to me, this format does that. Having bigger sample sets, as we've heard, not coming down to one race. There's just a lot of variables in motorsports, and I think as long as you give these drivers and teams and just the races play out and let it come out eventually the way that it should, I think we're doing right, and I think this is a great step to achieving that.
Go right behind Zach, row 2 there.
John Newby, Fan Buzz. So, Dale, obviously you won't be in the booth for these races, but from your broadcasting perspective, what does this do for the overall storylines as opposed to, 4 drivers or 8 drivers or 12 drivers at any given part of the rounds?
Well, I think that for us, we'll be in a pretty unique part of the season throughout the summer as we're building toward the playoffs or the chase, and we'll be sort of trying to understand who is trying to fight their way into that position to be one of those 16 drivers. And I recall, 20 years ago, how cool it was to be able to stand on that stage at Richmond after that final race of the regular season and be one of the guys, right, that had worked all year, every lap, every race, put a good points race together one week and win the next, and drag a tore up race car across the line for 20th the next to get to that stage every single week and grind. And that's kind of what I'm excited about for these guys to experience, is the pride in the work that they got to put in every single lap and every single race to finally be one of those few people that actually, gets to be a part of that at the end of the year. And so that'll be fun for our portion of the season. And I love the idea that once we do get to the chase, we just get to sit back and watch these guys go at it for 10 races. And they have to put together the full body of work. And I feel like that whoever can accomplish that can feel pretty darn good about what they've done at the end of the day. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think it, like I said at the first of this, it's simpler, easier. I think that's great. We all understand what the objective is, pretty cut and dried, and it's the full body of work. It's the entire season. You can be hot at the end of the years and still have success and do well and have a shot at the championship, but what you do in the regular season or those first 26 races is going to be critical to giving you that chance.
I don't see. Here we go. Got a question, row 2. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. Scott Fowler from the Charlotte Observer. This one's for Mark. You seem to really have your finger on the pulse of the fan, the classic race fan. So do you think this format is enough? Because some classic race fans, of course, just want a straight, race, just like it used to be in the 80s or whatever. What would you say to that?
Yeah, it's not going to be enough for some. Yeah, you just can't make everyone happy. I think that it is the best possible scenario that you could have asked for. After the second meeting that we had, I was still convinced that we couldn't even get to this. I am so happy. Everyone wins with this format. Everyone. The fans win. They were heard. They win. The drivers, the teams win. NASCAR wins. Everybody wins. This is, you can't always have everything you want. And I wanted it all, but I'm sure happy. This is great for our sport.
That driver mentality never leaves. You want it all, right, Mark? Bob had a question here in the front, and then we got a couple of more in the back as well.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. Steve, how close, if at all, did you come to going to a full race or full season points, and what was the determining factor not to go there?
So I think I'd go back. We looked at everything. I think the leader probably to begin with was maybe a longer 4-race championship format that I think some people thought about. Then it was 5. What would the different mix of tracks be? And then really it narrowed down to a full season or some type of a chase. And just looking at both of those, there are a lot of fans. Yes, there are a lot of vocal fans on social media. Those aren't all of our fans. And there are a lot of fans who like playoffs or like a playoff format as well. So we felt like this was a great balance. And it's simple. There's no playoff points and all those things. Ryan McGee said it best, I think, in the committee that you need to get on an elevator, get to the 20th floor, and be able to explain this to somebody, and we can finally do that. We couldn't do that in the past. It was really challenging, and so this, we feel like, as Mark said, is the best of both worlds, and it gives us room to take a look at it. It won't be perfect. We'll learn some things along the way. We got the smartest group of engineers and drivers and teams that'll look at this and say, here we go. Here's how I'm going to go after it, and we'll learn some things along the way as well.
Had one pop up in the back, and then we'll come up in the front to Jeff.
Trey Downey, Motor Racing Network. This question's for Steve. What went into settling on 16 as the right number to qualify for the chase? And then also, what was the balance of the points for winning versus a win and in scenario? I look back as maybe last season as far as a guy like Shane Van Gisbergen and what he did in the regular season versus being able to get into this format.
Yeah, I think, let me answer the first part, or what you just brought up in terms of the win and in. So one of the challenges around there is, we're going to the Daytona 500, right? The biggest race of the year. Mark Martin wins the Daytona 500, and what's the first thing an announcer's going to say? He's in the playoffs. What? I mean, what are we doing, right? And when you look at that, doesn't happen in any other sport, and it really became something that was taking away from the entirety of the season. So it was important for us to still have winning matter, but every race matter. So even when you got to the old playoffs, you could win in the first round, and you could test for 2 races if you wanted to. I mean, sponsors probably wouldn't allow that, and you're going after it. But there were some unique situations that we learned along the way that allowed for some things that we didn't love. So this was important for us to have winning still matter, adjust the points, and make it as simple as possible going. And I forgot the first part was 16, yeah. So not lost on us that a lot of things were going on right in Phoenix and throughout the year, and we wanted to make sure that we limited the disruption as much as possible in the industry to make this happen. 16, when you look at it in totality, is still felt like it was a fair number, and if we could keep it the same, we felt like that would be important. We recognize there'll have to be some tweaks with drivers and owners of kind of how those things were structured in the past, but we wanted to keep the number the same if at all possible.
I've been given the word. We have time for one more question. Jeff up here, and I apologize to Kelly. He was already in the queue.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gluck from The Athletic. Steve, there's going to be people on both sides that still won't be satisfied with this, particularly the people that were on the 36 race side that were really hoping for that. How do you do outreach, or how do you get them back in the, in the fold, so to speak, and embrace them, even though this decision didn't turn out the way quite they wanted, maybe?
So again, I'd go back to we think it's a good compromise. At the end of the day, it's going to be all about are we putting on great races that people want to tune in and go and see? Do they care about our drivers? Are we promoting the heroes that they are, as Mark and Dale said? When we were talking in the past about, if you go to Bristol, Ryan Blaney wins the race. Chase Briscoe finishes, I'm making it up here, but finishes 18th, but made the cutoff. The story was all about the 18th place finisher instead of the winner. Long term, that wasn't good for us. We want to build heroes, and it's hard to win these races. It's hard to be in the top 10. So really important for us to get back to those storylines. We think the fans will come along with us. We've got work to do, though, Jeff. It's not lost on any one of us at NASCAR. We got a lot of talented people who are hungry to get back to where we were, and we're going to work our asses off with the industry to deliver for the race fans.
I'd like to add a couple of things to that, too, Jeff. Steve won't say it, but there are contracts, team contracts with sponsors, and it's a lot more complicated than our fans really realize. It's very complicated. We're really lucky to have gotten what we got here. This is a great compromise in my eyes, and the jump from 10 to 36 is not nearly as unlikely as from playoffs to 36. So you never know what happens in the future. He didn't say that. I did, though.
Well, that's a good place to end it, and that wraps this portion of our announcement. We thank our panel here today. We thank those gathered in the room, and we also want to say a special thanks to those watching on the YouTube channel and the NASCAR channel and listening on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. We now send it over to Alex Weaver for more coverage on the NASCAR channel.
Thank you very much, Adam. We have a lot to discuss with this new chase format, and coming up, we're going to hear from Ben Kennedy, 3-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Joey Logano, and 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson. NASCAR Inside the Race starts right now. Welcome to the 2026 season of NASCAR Inside the Race. I am Alex Weaver, joined by my very favorite crew chief, Steve Letarte, as well as Kim Kuhn. We're going to react to this new chase format. So first and foremost, we're going to break it down a little bit more in details for the fans. Let's break down the explainers, and let's take it point by point so that the fans know what exactly they're getting for this postseason. So Steve, 26 regular season races, 10 postseason races now. It will be known as the chase. No more win and you're in for these drivers throughout the season. And the top 16 drivers in points by the end of Daytona for the regular season races will be qualifying for the chase, the 10 races in the postseason. What do you think?
Well, so if we pause there, you mentioned it. It can be complicated.